As INFJs move into the later stages of life, their inner world takes on an even deeper richness, and their relationship with time, meaning, and legacy change in profound ways. The INFJ who once wrestled with the pressure of fitting into societal expectations often reaches a place of greater freedom as they grow older. In their senior years, the tug of external validation loses much of its grip, and they become more attuned to living authentically, even if that means embracing solitude or choosing an unconventional path. Many INFJs describe a kind of inner peace that blossoms with age, a quiet acceptance that life has been both complex and beautiful, even with its struggles. This sense of wisdom allows them to look back without regret and forward without fear, knowing they've lived in alignment with their convictions as much as possible. INFJs also experience a deepening of reflection in their senior years. Their natural tendency to analyze and make sense of life experiences now crystallizes into a profound sense of perspective. They are able to see patterns that eluded them in youth, drawing connections between choices, relationships, and the greater human condition. This can make them wise storytellers, mentors, or guides to those around them, whether through direct teaching, writing, or simply living as examples of grace and quiet strength. They often carry a calm presence that younger people find magnetic, as if years of contemplation have carved into them a serene depth. INFJ seniors may not always speak much, but when they do, their words feel weighted with meaning, because they are distilled from decades of observation and lived truth. Relationships also shift in their later years. The INFJ, who in youth may have stretched themselves thin trying to please others or maintain draining connections, usually becomes more selective with age. By the time they're seniors, many have learned the art of boundaries and no longer tolerate superficiality or toxic patterns. They crave intimacy of the soul rather than social busyness. For some, this means their circle becomes smaller, yet more meaningful. They prefer spending time with people who truly get them, or with family members who value the wisdom they bring. Others may embrace solitude more fully, finding companionship in spirituality, art, reading, or nature. Even when alone, they seldom feel empty. Instead, they experience solitude as a sanctuary, a place where their inner vision and imagination can flourish. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video. Career and purpose take on a different shape for INFJs. Many of them, after years of service to others, may redirect their energy toward creative or personal pursuits that bring them joy. Those who had careers in counseling, teaching, writing, ministry, healthcare, or advocacy often find ways to continue giving back, but in a gentler, less demanding form. They may volunteer, mentor, or create works of art, books, or projects that allow them to leave a legacy. Legacy itself becomes central. INFJs want to know that their life has meant something, that they've planted seeds which will outlast them. This doesn't always manifest in grand achievements. Sometimes it's in the way they've quietly influenced a handful of lives, guided children or grandchildren, or nurtured communities in small but lasting ways. The INFJ senior often reflects less on accolades and more on impact, who they helped, who they loved, and who they lifted. Spirituality often becomes an anchor in this stage of life. INFJs have always leaned toward the unseen, the mystical, and the deeply meaningful. As seniors, they are often more open to embracing practices that connect them with the eternal, whether through religion, meditation, nature, or their own personal spiritual philosophy. The existential questions that haunted them in youth, about life, death, and purpose, begin to settle into a gentle trust. Many describe this as a kind of surrender, not of giving up, but of leaning into the mystery of life with peace. They are often the ones who can speak about mortality without fear, who see the transition into the later years not as decline, but as transformation. INFJ seniors may still wrestle with certain challenges. Their deep sensitivity to the world does not diminish with age, and sometimes it intensifies as they have more time to reflect on global issues, human suffering, or the state of the environment. They may feel a renewed urgency to advocate for causes they believe in, even in quieter ways. Some struggle with loneliness if they outlive friends or partners, or if their selective nature has left them with few companions. Health challenges, too, can weigh heavily on them, particularly if they restrict the independence or creativity that INFJs value so much. Yet, even in struggle, INFJs often find a way to turn their pain into meaning, reframing hardship as an opportunity to deepen compassion and resilience. Creativity can flourish in surprising ways during the senior INFJ years. Many who never had the time or freedom earlier in life finally take up painting, writing, music, or gardening. The act of creation becomes both a form of self-expression and a spiritual practice, a way to leave behind something tangible. Because INFJs are highly imaginative, they may approach retirement as a renaissance period rather than an ending. Freed from the constraints of constant productivity, they can finally immerse themselves in what truly calls to their soul. Their creativity often carries a reflective quality, filled with themes of legacy, healing, and transcendence. Life as an INFJ senior is marked by a gentle deepening rather than a fading away. While the outer world may see age as limitation, INFJs experience it as a doorway to greater authenticity, wisdom, and clarity. They become more rooted in their values, more aligned with their true selves, and more at peace with the rhythms of life. To be an INFJ in the senior years is to live as a quiet beacon, shining not with loudness or dominance, but with the subtle, enduring light of a soul that has learned to embrace both the beauty and the sorrow of existence. Their lives become less about striving and more about being, less about pleasing and more about truth, less about noise and more about essence. And in that essence, they often find what they had always been searching for, a life that feels whole. Another distinct transformation that unfolds in their senior years is their relationship with time itself. While in earlier stages of life, they often felt pressured by deadlines, responsibilities, and the fear of wasting time. In later years, they begin to savor it differently. Time becomes more fluid, less about productivity and more about presence. A quiet morning walk, the ritual of making tea, or sitting by a window to watch the world move slowly can hold profound significance. The INFJ senior begins to embrace slowness as a gift rather than a limitation. And this shift allows them to experience the richness of moments that may have once slipped by unnoticed. This relationship with time also brings them into a deeper connection with memory. Nostalgia becomes both a comfort and a source of contemplation. INFJ seniors may spend long hours revisiting journals, letters, old photographs, or cherished conversations. For them, remembering is not simply about clinging to the past. It's about weaving together the threads of their life into a coherent story. Their strong intuitive nature compels them to extract meaning from these reflections, seeing how even painful or confusing seasons had a role in shaping their path. This gives them a unique ability to interpret life, not in fragmented episodes, but as a narrative with continuity and purpose. As their physical world slows, their inner world often becomes more alive than ever. Many INFJ seniors report a surge of inner creativity, imagination, or even dream life that feels more vivid than in youth. The subconscious speaks to them with clarity, offering insights they may have brushed aside during the busier stages of life. Some may find themselves experiencing what feels like downloads of wisdom in the quiet hours, epiphanies about life, human nature, or spirituality that seem to arrive out of nowhere. These moments are deeply nourishing to them, and they may channel them into writing, teaching, or simply sharing with loved ones who are open to listening. Their attitude toward relationships also develops an interesting duality. On one hand, they may become more inward-focused, enjoying solitude, and requiring less external validation. On the other hand, they often cultivate a tender attentiveness toward those they love, cherishing every interaction with greater intensity. Small acts of connection take on heightened importance. A phone call with a grandchild, a conversation with an old friend, or even the chance to meet a stranger with whom they share a moment of authentic understanding. Because INFJs have always prized depth, The scarcity of time in senior years makes them lean even more heavily into depth over breadth, savoring the richness of one-on-one interactions. Another fascinating dimension of INFJ senior life is how they view their role in society. Whereas youth often made them feel out of place or misunderstood, age can cloak them with a certain authority or respect that finally allows their perspectives to be heard. The archetype of the sage often fits them well at this stage. Communities, younger family members, or mentor may turn to them for advice, and INFJs often feel more comfortable embracing this role than they might have in midlife. They may not seek the spotlight, but they do embrace opportunities to quietly shape the lives of others through their guidance. This sense of being able to contribute wisdom without needing to fight for recognition can be deeply satisfying. INFJs often find themselves confronting mortality not with dread, but with curiosity. Their lifelong fascination with meaning and the unseen makes them approach death differently than many. They may see it as a natural continuation of life's mystery, a threshold rather than an end. This perspective can make them incredibly comforting to others who fear aging or death, as they have a way of reframing the transition as something deeply human, even sacred. They may spend time organizing their lives not just practically, but spiritually and emotionally, making peace with unresolved relationships, expressing love more openly, and ensuring that what they leave behind reflects the essence of who they were. Many INFJ seniors also develop a keener appreciation for the physical world. While in younger years they may have been so absorbed in the abstract and imaginative that they overlook the tangible, in later life they often learn to ground themselves in sensory pleasures. They may find joy in tending a garden, in cooking simple meals, or in the texture of fabrics, the warmth of sunlight, or the sound of birdsong. This grounding can feel almost like a spiritual practice, anchoring their inner life to the rhythms of the earth. In this way, INFJs often discover a balance between their rich inner landscapes and the beauty of the outer world. INFJ seniors often experience a kind of quiet rebellion against the cultural narratives of aging. While society may tell them that old age is decline, they resist seeing themselves through that lens. Instead, they approach aging as an initiation into a deeper stage of existence, one that allows them to embody the wisdom, authenticity, and perspective that were harder to claim in earlier decades. They do not measure their worth by physical vitality or productivity anymore, but by depth of presence, clarity of vision, and capacity to love. In this sense, INFJs in their senior years become living reminders that aging can be more than loss. It can be the blossoming of essence, the revelation of who they always truly were beneath the roles and obligations. Silence, which may have been a refuge in younger years, becomes almost sacred to them as they age. They begin to view it not as emptiness, but as a profound presence, a space in which they commune with themselves, the divine, or the vastness of existence. This reverence for silence often makes them highly contemplative, able to sit for long stretches without the need for distraction or stimulation. The richness of their inner life ensures that silence never feels barren, but instead becomes a source of strength and renewal. Earlier in life, INFJs often struggle with the intensity of their feelings, sometimes bottling them up or becoming overwhelmed by them. In their later years, they develop a different relationship with emotion, less reactive, more spacious. They learn to hold emotions like companions rather than enemies, acknowledging grief, longing, joy, and gratitude with equal respect. This emotional maturity gives them a kind of radiance that others sense. They are able to offer comfort not just through words, but through presence, because people feel that they are in the company of someone who has weathered storms and found calm on the other side. For INFJ seniors, their intellectual curiosity rarely fades. In fact, it can intensify. Many of them continue to be lifelong learners, diving into philosophy, psychology, spirituality, history, or the arts with renewed passion. They may take up new studies, explore fresh ideas, or re-examine old beliefs with wiser eyes. Reading, listening to lectures, or attending community discussions becomes not just pastime but nourishment. Unlike in youth, when knowledge was often sought to achieve or prove something, In later years, the pursuit of understanding is more about pure wonder. Learning becomes a form of play, and every new insight a reminder that growth doesn't end with age. Their empathy also undergoes transformation. In earlier life, INFJs sometimes overextended themselves emotionally, carrying the burdens of others to their own detriment. With age comes discernment. Senior INFJs tend to offer compassion with healthier boundaries, no longer trying to save everyone, but instead channeling their empathy into intentional acts. They may choose one or two people, causes, or communities to support deeply rather than spreading themselves thin. This allows them to give with greater effectiveness and without the exhaustion that once plagued them. Their compassion becomes less frantic and more grounded, resembling a steady flame rather than a wildfire. INFJs often wrestle with perfectionism or the desire to embody an ideal, but in later years they soften into acceptance of their flaws and contradictions. They no longer feel the same pressure to project an image of goodness or correctness. Instead, they embrace their humanity fully, recognizing that their weaknesses, mistakes, and even regrets are part of what makes them whole. This integration gives them a depth and authenticity that can feel liberating not only to themselves, but to those around them, as they model a way of being that is honest and unpretentious. Their creativity also expands into new forms of expression, sometimes surprising even themselves. A person who may have written quietly in journals their whole life may suddenly feel compelled to publish a memoir or poetry. Someone who dabbled in painting might finally commit to creating a series of works that capture the essence of their reflections. Creativity for them is rarely about recognition at this stage. It is about legacy, healing, and the joy of making something that carries their spirit into the world. Their projects often have a timeless quality, infused with themes of transcendence, connection, and meaning that resonate across generations. INFJs in later life often find themselves drawn to roles of quiet stewardship. They may not crave leadership in the conventional sense, but they naturally become anchors in the groups they are part of. In family gatherings, religious spaces, or local circles, people turn to them for perspective, and they provide it with gentleness. Their senior years are marked not by loud influence, but by subtle guidance, creating harmony, mediating conflicts, or simply holding space for others to be heard. This makes them invaluable in family systems and communities, even if their contributions often go unnoticed on the surface. The relationship INFJs have with nature also tends to deepen as they age. While they may have always appreciated its beauty, in their senior years they often experience nature as a mirror of their own life cycle. The turning of the seasons, the falling of leaves, the stillness of winter, and the renewal of spring resonate with them on an almost spiritual level. Gardening, walking in the woods, or simply sitting outdoors can become sacred rituals, grounding them in the rhythms of life. This connection to the earth often brings comfort when confronting their own mortality, as they see themselves not as separate, but as part of the eternal flow of creation. Another striking change is the INFJ's relationship with simplicity. In younger years, they may have carried complex dreams, responsibilities, or ambitions, but in later life there's often a stripping away. They become more intentional about what they allow into their lives, focusing only on what feels aligned with their soul. Their homes may become quieter, filled with fewer possessions, but each chosen with meaning. Their schedules may pare down to what truly matters. This simplicity doesn't feel like loss to them. Rather, it feels like clarity. They no longer feel compelled to chase what does not resonate, and this freedom gives them serenity that was harder to grasp in earlier decades. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video.